We do have another question. We've got a great view of the ground system, the launcher that the rocket is sitting on. And Tom asks, is that launch mount sat on the ground or does it have foundations? How does that kind of roll out and set up for launch?
Right. So you can see that the rocket is sitting on, I almost just said the shuttle, the rocket is sitting on a black structure. There is a mounting interface with the ground. There are specific sort of hold downs there, and that is how we interface with the ground. But there is no kind of permanently installed foundation aside from the concrete base. That entire structure that you see the rocket sitting on is entirely portable.
Gotcha. Thank you very much. Another question here. Is there a no-fly zone regarding today's launch? I believe that is standard practice here at both Cape Canaveral and other launch ranges. No-fly zones, also marine hazard zones that are maintained, and that's part of that partnership with Space Launch Delta 45, right, Carolina?
Right. So we do work with the range to make sure that not only planes but also boats stay away from the keep out zone. So in the event that we would encounter an aircraft or a boat in that keep out area, that would mean that we would hold until that issue is removed. So we actually have I believe a Coast Guard helicopter who's out making sure that the airways and maritime area is clear for our launch today.
Excellent. We actually caught a glimpse earlier, right before we went live, a Coast Guard helicopter circling the range, and if our friend Steven out there catches that again, we'll try and show that, but the security forces are out in force to ensure that today's launch goes off without a hitch. Another question here asking, how long can this rocket stay in a hold?
Right. So we closely monitor all of the systems. Our launch window does extend to 4 p.m. Eastern time. So we have about 2.5 hours left, I believe, in the in our countdown time. So we have in the past used all that time, and the vehicle has been fine. So we're keeping an eye on everything, but we can be ready to launch at any point within our window.
Gotcha. I keep saying gotcha. I'm doing that thing where I say the same word over and over again. I'll come up with a new response next time you answer a question. But thank you to Carolina for all the expertise here. Andrew with a question asking, what is the typical lifespan of a CubeSat?
Yeah, so I'm not a CubeSat expert here. More focused on the rocket and the rest of the launch system. However, CubeSats can be pretty resilient and live quite a long time. One of the depending factors is how much time it can spend on orbit before the orbit decays, of course. But CubeSats can have a lifespan of many years.
And yeah, the CubeSats are also designed to be sort of a low-cost access to solution to space, which means that they are tailored towards, short-term missions in low Earth orbit. Usually, some CubeSats are designed to last a long time. CubeSats have been sent to Mars, for example, but most of them operate in low Earth orbit and operate pretty short missions. But that also means there's potential for an extended mission, because if you plan for, let's say, a month-long mission, and then after a month the CubeSat's still working, well, you can go get extra data, you can keep doing the mission, you could even do a different mission using the same instruments or whatever. So there's some factors that play into that, but the CubeSats all have different varying mission requirements and things like that, but that orbital decay is a big thing because most of them don't have propulsion on board. Not all, but most of them don't, which means you can't boost your orbit. You're kind of at the mercy of physics, if you will. But definitely an interesting point to talk about. Another question here from Taylor asking, how many Rocket 3s will there be, and is there another rocket in the works?
Well, there's always another rocket in the works here at Astra. We have a lot of exciting plans. Today we are focused on this very exciting launch of LV0008, which represents a lot of firsts for us at Astra. It will be our first mission where we will be deploying a payload. We are, of course, having our first launch from Cape Canaveral. If you've joined us in the past, the view is a little different from our regular launch site in Kodiak, Alaska. And so we're focused on today's mission, but if you want to keep track on Astra's future plans, you can check out our website, astra.com, and follow us on social media as well.
Looking forward to many rockets in the future. Coming up on hopefully releasing a hold before too long. Yeah, we're standing by for another update. The launch teams are currently in a hold. I'm just sitting here blabbering my mouth about it. But the launch teams are currently in a hold, and we're going to stand by for a further update here. Again, the launch window extends until 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Plenty of time to resolve this. So let's go ahead and listen into the countdown net and wait for another update from Mission Control.
This is Astra flight on countdown. Astra is picking the count back up at T-minus 15 minutes at this time. And re-entering terminal count. CDH confirmed for me that the first stage fuel tank is full and we do not require additional filling.
Confirmed.
First step 146, Tango, please inspect launch machine to prepare to set a new UTC T-0 time.
Ready.
New UTC T-0 time is hours 18.
18.
Minutes 50.
Minutes 50.
Seconds 00.
Seconds 00.
Please save and commit.
Save and committing now.
And as you have just seen and heard, we have resumed our countdown, and we are just inside 14 minutes from our new T-0 time, which is 10:50 a.m. Pacific time, 1:50 p.m. Eastern time. And the team is proceeding into the final steps of preparing the vehicle for launch, our terminal count. In just a few moments, we'll hear our go, no-go poll with our final preparations, and after that point, we will be in just a few minutes away from our T-0.
Looking forward to liftoff as the clocks are now ticking once again and are heading towards that new T-0 again, 1:50 p.m. Eastern Time, 1850 UTC. We can go ahead and listen into the countdown as they work through some more procedures coming up on that go, no-go poll. Let's listen in.
Activating AUX 1 OV 201 first fill.
Aux1 OV401 fill.
Deactivating Aux1 OV401 fill.
Aux1 OV301 upper fill.
Deactivating Aux1 OV301 upper fill.
In machine fuel 4 operate, toggle off first and full.
Toggling off first. Toggling off full.
Please deactivate fuel 4 operate.
Deactivating fuel 4 operate.
Fuel 3 supply.
Deactivating fuel 3 supply.
Fuel 1 FV300 upper fill.
Deactivating fuel 1 FV300 upper fill.
Fuel 1 FV200 first fill.
Deactivating fuel 1 FV200 first fill.
AV1 radios.
Deactivating AV1 radios.
And deactivate AV1 rocket support cart.
Deactivating AV1 rocket support cart.
Please confirm for me that the following machines are still enabled and running. Zero stop purging.
Confirmed.
AV1 manage polling.
Confirmed.
AV1 manage power systems.
Confirmed.
The entire helium stack.
Confirmed.
Please activate machine igniter 1 spark test.
Activating igniter 1 spark test.
VB1 first stage power.
VB1 first stage power is activated.
VB1 upper stage power.
Activated.
VB1 turn on off PDBs.
Activated.
And water 1 water system.
Activated.
Tango, please activate launch machine.
Activating launch.
Please toggle locks topping at this time.
Toggling locks topping.
Per step 151, this is the Astra poll for tank pressurization and launch. After this point, any system issue must be called as a 3-word hold. That is a hold, hold, hold over the net. If there are no concerns for flight, call go. Otherwise, call no go. Red lead.
Red lead is go.
FTS.
FTS is go.
Delphin.
Delphin is go.
Ether.
Ether is go.
Odin.
Odin is go.
Inco.
Inco is go.
Ace.
Ace is go.
Launcher.
Launcher is go.
Orbit.
Orbit is go.
Booster.
Booster is go.
GNC.
GNC is go.
FAO.
FAO is go.
CDH.
CDH is go.
Tango.
Tango is go.
Safety.
Safety is go.
Flight is go as well at this time. Tango in
As you just
EV1
heard.
manage polling, please toggle do only ground polling.
Toggling do only ground polling.
Teams have pulled
And
go
Tango,
for the
next
launch.
up we're going to load
So as you just heard, sorry, I don't want to talk over the flight director there, but the teams have pulled go for launch. 9.5 minutes to go for a target liftoff time of 1:50 p.m. Eastern Time. Teams are going to be working through the rest of the terminal count here as all systems are go, including the range, weather, and the rocket itself. Carolina, how are you feeling over in Alameda?
The anticipation is certainly building over here in our final minutes before launch.
Why don't we give a brief update, or not an update, an overview of the mission timeline since we are now into the business end of the countdown.
Yes.
First things first. Yep, go ahead, Carolina.
Sure. You can see the mission timeline up on your screen, and at T-minus 3 seconds, those 5 first-stage Delphin engines will ignite before our liftoff at T-0, and then we will very quickly begin our pitch-over maneuver at T+6 seconds. If all goes well, we'll reach max Q at about 1 minute and 10 seconds. That's the point of maximum aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle and a very significant milestone. And then in very quick succession, we have main engine cutoff, or MECO, fairing separation, and stage separation. And then just around 3 minutes and 5 seconds into flight, we have our upper stage ignition of our Ether engine. And then Ether will burn for about 5.5 minutes before second engine cutoff, or SECO. And finally, we will deploy our 4 payloads, our 4 CubeSat payloads at 8 minutes and 40 seconds after launch.
And that will be a deployment sequence of a couple seconds between each satellite before CubeSats all deployed in quick succession, and we are hoping that we get there in just about, well, 8 minutes of countdown and then 8 minutes of flight to orbit, so about 16 minutes or so, hoping to be on orbit and delivering those payloads. That would be an awesome sight to see. Again, if you are just joining us, this is Astra's first launch carrying payloads, actual satellites into low Earth orbit. Also the first launch from Space Launch Complex 46 here on the Space Coast at Cape Canaveral, Florida. Liftoff is targeted for 1:50 p.m. Eastern Time, 7.5 minutes to go. And you're listening to live coverage from NASASpaceflight Thomas Burkhart here at Cape Canaveral and Carolina Grossman at Astra's headquarters in Alameda, California. Let's go ahead and listen back into the countdown net as the teams go through their final points. Should also point out that boat in the background is not an issue. That is outside the exclusion zone. Just realized you might see that in the view. I promise. The range is green, I'm told. The rocket is actually flying a different direction, so all good here. But yeah, as the teams get through these final steps, let's go ahead and listen back into the countdown net.
V1 manage polling, toggle do both ground and guidance polling.
Toggling do both ground and guidance polling.
Delphin confirmed GSE igniter system is ready for launch.
Igniters are in good state and good for launch.
FTS issue logic on AFTU, verify CAS is green and nominal.
Stand by. AFTU is logic enabled and master enabled.
Copy. Tango, verify vehicle looks ready for launch aside from tank pressures.
Vehicle is ready for launch.
Rock, this is flight on countdown.
Rock.
Astra is looking for final range green and launch authorization for this morning.
Range green.
And you just heard the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station range has confirmed range is green for launch.
Tango in the launch
Coming up-
machine, please toggle launch.
Enabling launch.
Coming up about 5 minutes, Flight Director Chris Hoffman will give the final briefings ahead of the final business end of the countdown, and the rocket is, before too long, going to be taking over internal control of the countdown itself and getting towards liftoff.
5 minutes. Flight on countdown with a reminder to all that any 3-word hold call from here on out is an immediate abort regardless of source. Minutes.
Under 4 minutes to go to the launch of the ELaNa 41 mission on Astra Rocket 3 LV0008.
Rock, flight on countdown.
Rock.
Please verify the range is recording telemetry at this time.
Verified.
Thank you, sir. And a reminder to all Astra personnel, control room, if you require RF data, be prepared to switch over your Grafana sources at liftoff. MIFCO, flight on countdown.
MIFCO.
MIFCO, prepare to issue option when rocket IIP marker passes min MECO point and is within dispersed trajectories. Call out at time.
MIFCO copies.
3 minutes.
There's a great view of the Astra teams in Alameda watching today's launch. 2.5 minutes to go.
FTS at this time, send master, enable, and watchdog on AFTU.
Watchdog is enabled.
Thank you. Two minutes.
Now passing 2 minutes till launch. Again, this is the launch of the ELaNa 41 mission for NASA. 4 CubeSats hitching a ride on rocket 3.3 LV0008, Astra's first mission with satellites on board, ready to lift off from Cape Canaveral, Florida in just under 2 minutes from now. Coming up on 90 seconds.
90 seconds.
I'm going to leave commentary in the hands of Carolina Grossman at Alameda's headquarters, and good luck and Godspeed to LV0008.
Enjoy the view, Thomas.
Ace, flight on countdown.
Ace here.
Please start PSD recordings and downrange ground station recordings.
In work.
"60 seconds. Vehicles on internals. "45 seconds. First stage tanks coming up to pressure. "35. Vehicle is at pre-liftoff tank pressures. 30 seconds. "20. 15. 10. 9. 8. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. Ignition 1, 0. Abort.
As you've just
Launch
heard,
is
we had an
deactivated.
abort at T-0. Teams will look into the data, and we have time to try again. So right now the team is getting the vehicle into a safe state as we look at the issue that triggered the abort. If we are able to reset the countdown, we would pick up again at our terminal count point of T-minus 15 minutes. And we do have time in today's launch window, which extends until 4 p.m. Eastern.
Copy. In work.
And as you saw, there was an abort at our T-0 liftoff time. Looks like we did have engine ignition and an abort was called. The teams are troubleshooting the issue. Looks like the pad is safe and secure, no fires, no issues on the ground. So thanks for standing by while the team looks at what happened in the final moments of our terminal count. And we will keep you posted with updates as soon as we can. If we are able to recycle today's launch attempt, we would resume from T-minus 15 minutes, the top of our terminal count. And we do have until 4 p.m. Eastern today in our launch window.
And whether that recycle can occur will of course depend on the issue itself and how it can be resolved. So we'll stay tuned for those updates. But like Carolina said, launch window does extend for a couple more hours, so we're going to stay tuned and see what our status is, and we'll share that as soon as we have it. We actually did talk about this a little bit earlier in the broadcast, how the rocket is, of course, designed to handle multiple fueling and ignition cycles. We were talking about the engine static fire test, which is a planned milestone before every launch to make sure that the systems are all healthy, goes through an entire countdown. And so the rocket does have that recycle capability, but just depends on what the actual hold or the abort was triggered by. But those aborts are all triggered by onboard commands, right, Carolina's onboard computer sensing something is not quite right.
That's right. So at T-minus 60 seconds, you heard that call out that the vehicle is on internal control, and it's all systems within the vehicle that are monitoring and making sure that everything is as it should. And if it isn't, an abort is triggered. So that's exactly what happened. That is, the system is working exactly as it should. And so we can look at what caused the specific abort that was called, and the teams are already beginning to look through the data and troubleshoot.
You can see that countdown clock stuck at 13 seconds. We'll expect to see that, of course, recycle if a recycle is feasible. Standing by for word on that, but that clock is holding right now as the teams assess the abort. While we wait for more status, we can go ahead and get back into questions. If you have any questions about today's mission, please tag at NASASpaceflight in chat, and we're going to go ahead and try to answer those and keep providing some more information on the mission. We'll also keep those updates forthcoming, though, as we have them. The next question, someone is asking, what happens if there's a range violation after liftoff? Does that warrant an FTS activation?
Right, so if there is an issue after liftoff, we do have a flight safety system or FTS, flight termination system, that is on board the vehicle. And so the FTS system would be activated if, for example, the vehicle is drifting off course, and would ensure that we stay in the safe area. We make sure that the keep out zones are clear before we launch to make sure that everyone on the ground, in the air, is as far away from the rocket as they need to be.
Yeah, those range borders are actually monitored, not just those inside the hazard zones, but any vehicles that may be approaching the hazard zone too. So it's not ensuring the hazard zone is clear at liftoff, but then the question being about what if a range violation occurs afterwards. Well, the relevant authorities are also looking at any nearby vehicles that could reach the hazard zone during, shortly after liftoff, and making sure that they're all clear as well. So that's all coordinated and ensure that will not take place once the rocket's actually in the air. Another question here from Daniel asking, can Rocket 3 launch in the rain?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there are lots of weather conditions that we keep in mind in order to ensure a safe and successful launch. A big one is lightning. There's a big lightning protection system around the rocket, which is so large you can't really even see it in the frame right now. We also keep an eye on winds. That was the reason for a hold earlier. But rain itself actually isn't that big of a problem. It's all of the typical bad weather effects that come along with rain, such as lightning and wind.
It would be appropriate for someone to ask what those towers are for right about now, but I feel like we've preempted that question by talking about lightning protection a couple times. You can see in this frame there are some cables running down on the left and right hand side of the rocket. Those are part of the lightning protection systems. They run up to the towers. And then here's a great view from Jetty Park, and you can see those two lightning towers more clearly there, along with the mobile service tower, which is of course not in use for Astra's rocket, but has been used for other launches from Complex 46. Another question here from Skysurfer, who asks, during a launch, do the cables, hoses, and electronics on that strong back get damaged from the heat?
Right, that's a great question. So we do everything that we can to protect the system from that engine plume, those very hot gases that are exiting the first stage as the vehicle lifts off. We do, since we light the engines a few seconds before T-0, as well as conducting a static fire test of a few seconds duration before we make any launch attempt at all. We do our best to protect all of the cabling, hosing, electronics, etc., and do maintenance as needed for the bits that get a bit crispy.
Gotcha. So seeing some questions in chat about the venting that you can see on the screen. That is not them detanking the vehicle, right, Carolina? That's just nominal, just sort of stable replenish venting.
Right, that's correct. So we pressurize the tanks a few minutes before T-0 time, so we vent to make sure that we can keep the vehicle safe and in a safe and stable state while it's on the ground, while the team is troubleshooting the issue that caused the abort right around T-0.
And on that front, the ground equipment will be able to top off those fuel tanks continuously, right? That's still taking place, especially after a recycle?
Right. We will make sure that we're able to reach the appropriate levels and top off the tanks as needed.
Again, if you are just joining us, this is the launch of ELaNa 41, a CubeSat mission for NASA, 4 CubeSats on board. The launch was just aborted right about a moment before liftoff, and the teams are currently working to assess that abort and determine if a recycle will be able to occur. We'll provide that update as soon as we have it.
Thanks for standing by with us. If you're just joining us, we had an abort call just a few seconds before liftoff, and the team has been working to troubleshoot the issue. We are at this point keeping all of our options open, and we would recycle. You can see the clock's been reset preemptively to T-minus 15 minutes and holding there. So we would recycle our countdown from the beginning of our terminal count at T-minus 15 minutes. We'll continue to give you updates as we have them, but the team is keeping our options open and hoping to recycle today. And thanks for standing by. If you are just joining us or waiting along with us, we had an abort right around T-0 of our launch attempt. The team has spent the last approximately 45 minutes looking through the issue, and we are doing some final tests to see if we will be able to attempt to recycle today's launch attempt. We have about an hour and 15 minutes remaining in the launch window, and we would pick up the count from T-minus 15 minutes, so plenty of time to try again if we're able, and we're just standing by to see if the team is able to successfully complete the final test before picking up the count again.
This is Astra flight on countdown. Astra is scrubbing for the day.
And as you just heard, the flight director, Chris Hoffman, did just call a scrub for the day. ELaNa, do you have an update for us?
Yes, unfortunately, the abort that was around our T-0 time is a minor telemetry issue that the team needs to work to resolve. So, unfortunately, we need to stand down from today's launch attempt. Thank you so much for sticking with us, and you can follow us on Twitter at Astra to hear the latest updates on our next launch attempt.
Yeah, stay tuned for future coverage, and again, thank you to Astra for partnering with NASA Spaceflight for today's coverage. We'll be back with you as soon as another launch attempt is ready, but thank you so much for watching today. Thanks to all of the support and the chat messages and the NSF and Astra teams behind today. We'll hopefully be back with you very soon for another launch attempt. So signing off for now, ELaNa, thank you so much for joining me today from Alameda in California.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
RCP chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger roll, ELaNa. Water towers can fly! Yes!
Tango Delta nominal.
Flight outside SC off. Bring in SC off.
Yikes. You bet. Concur. We don't need any more of these.